We are amazing because our passion is limitless and our drive is intense. Therefore, you will not deny our grind. You are now listening to the Faith, Grind, and Inspire podcast.
Welcome back to another great episode of Faith, Grind, Inspire podcast. I am your host, Gene Alert.
I'm Jeffrey Patrick, the co-host with the most and the toast.
And the toast.
Let's do it.
Patrick.
Yeah, let's do it.
Man, so it's been a couple of... we've been on a good run, man. And we had to keep that energy going.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
This week, we got my man back on the show. So now you officially a friend of the podcast.
I am.
You know, you always been a supporter, but you come back on to the show, and we appreciate you, man, for the love.
Absolutely.
And we got some good things that we're celebrating.
Absolutely.
So we want to talk about that. We got my man Gary Coichy here from Podcast Media.
Pod Digital Media.
Pod Digital Media.
Pod Digital Media.
Pod Digital Media.
Yeah, PDM. Yep.
PDM.
Pod Digital Media.
Pod Digital Media. Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you guys. Very excited to be here, of course. Happy to return to the show. It just feels like a basement conversation because I feel like I'm speaking with friends.
No, we are Madison Square Garden.
You friends, man.
We're at Madison Square Garden.
Yeah, we are at Madison Square Garden. Right. We're definitely not in the basement.
Let's get it straight.
Absolutely. Let's clear the air.
Let's clear the air right now.
Let's not like go ahead.
And absolutely. No, I'm very excited to be here, man. Looking forward to this conversation and spending the next hour with you guys. Thanks for having me back.
Yeah, shoot. So, tell us a little bit about the venture that you're on with the podcast Digital Media.
Absolutely, man. So, Pod Digital Media, PDM, came into life December of 2017. Mm-hmm. It's when I was in search of finding a network for one of my clients, Kel's daughter at the time, which caters to Afro-Latinas and African-American women. Mm-hmm. And I was looking for a podcast that makes sense for the company to place their ads. And I called all the networks, and none really had the reach and scale to place the ads, and none really had specific podcasts that really spoke to African American women. That would also make sense for the business. And as I called around, and I'm realizing the more I call, the more I'm realizing that it didn't exist. Of course, these networks do have black shows by different black celebrities, but there weren't one specific network that focused on a multicultural segment, the Afro-Latinas and African American women in audience segment. And the thing that really threw me over the edge is that I spoke with a gentleman, which will remain nameless, and he said, "Man, look, we have 4 shows, middle-aged white guys." And they have the reach and scale you're looking for. Those guys are doing it on a weekly basis, an average of 2 million, 3 million downloads each. You should absolutely be advertising if you want to reach, if you really want to get some awareness. And I'm on the phone. I'm appalled. I'm like, I don't know any African-American female, I don't know any Afro-Latina women that would listen to a middle-aged white guys to tell them what to do with their hair, right? Yeah. It just doesn't happen. So that's when I realized that...
That sounds like an oxymoron.
Right. That's when I realized that I had something special. It doesn't exist. And a guy like myself that truly has that embodies the entrepreneurial spirit, that's always curious, always looking, those have the itch to reach the next level. That's when I realized that something special and it needs to happen. If anyone could create it, it should be myself.
Nice.
And we're glad you created it.
No, absolutely. And so are my advertisers.
yes, for real.
Yeah. All right. So what's the function? What's the function? What's going on with it? Where's it headed now?
Absolutely. So right now, we really officially launched the business July of 2018, and we started with a total of, I want to say, maybe between 1 to 5 podcasters, and 0 advertisers. And right now we partner with over 400 podcasters, and we have over 100 clients. And then that ranges from small agencies to larger agencies, such as your Group M, your Omnicom of the world. And we also work with the companies such as the Moet Hennessy's, the Lolas, the Titles, Universal Studios, Showtime, HBO. So we work with entertainment clients, a lot of CPG brands, and then we also work with companies like LinkedIn, Skillshare, that's really looking to reach the multicultural segment, Black and Hispanic professionals. Oh. So that's currently where we're at right now, and we feel that we're in a very great place. However, we do know there's a lot of more work to be done. So the next step for us is really to work on a lot of different partnerships that will help us take things to another level.
Partnerships. So who are some of the podcasters? Let us,
get a taste, right? Get a taste. No, for sure.
Fake grind inspired. Yeah, right. I'm like,
I mean, I don't know why we're not working together yet.
Why either,
I really
man.
don't know. So
I said yes already.
You said yes. I think I requested some information that has to come back to the team.
Oh,
yet.
yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. There we go. No. So, for example, we work with we partner with Loudspeaker Networks, which is which has the Angela Yee's of the world, Charlemagne the God of the world. They have Flagrant 2. We've worked with Noriega Drink Champs. I believe now they're part of a different network, but we've been able to work with them in placing different ads on their show. We currently working with Gilly the Kid. We just kicked off that relationship recently, and we work with Jordan Reed, Jackie Reed. They'll work for MSNBC during the day, but on the side they have a podcast called Read This, Read That. Correct. Yeah. It's a great show. It's one of the top podcasts. We work with Demetria Lucas, which is a belle in Brooklyn. She used to be a famous blogger here in New York, but now she's relocated to Los Angeles. Her podcast is called Ratchet and Respectable, and it's exactly that's a great podcast. I mean, we work with a slew of others that may not be. She moved, yeah. That may not be recognizable names that I'll say and you'll know. However, they're thought leaders within their respected fields, and also have the reach and scale of an engaged audience that gives a lot of value to the advertisers that we work with. So yeah. And I think one of the challenges that we have, I knew that question was coming, so I'll answer it for you in advance. I think one of the challenges that we have when working with podcasters, we're really working with a lot of creators. We're working with creatives, right? Creatives are just the brain operates differently. Creatives know how to create great content. However, from the business perspective, some of them are really smart, and some of them they're not smart, but the business aspect of it is not their core focus. And some of the challenges that we have is that we're seeing a lot of consistency in terms of the podcasts that are being released, and advertisers don't want you to have a podcast today and we're in September and your next podcast is not until November. You're lacking consistency. Therefore, if you're not
every week.
Every week. Consistently.
That's amazing.
70 episodes deep. Every Wednesday, people.
That's a challenge, and we're not the only ones that's having that challenge. When we speak to our counterparts and all the competitors, they're seeing is the same thing, which is why for us, we're always in the hunt for quality content. We're always looking for a thought leader, for an influencer that really wants to get behind the microphone to come out and say, hey, we have a podcast, and we will release episodes and content on a weekly basis.
So with the advertisers, when they advertise, right? How does it work into the show? How do you guys do it? Is it at the beginning of the show, during the show? Is it at the end of the show?
Pricing varies depending on where you put it.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to.
Oh no, for us it's.
I wasn't asking you, Gene.
Oh, sorry. Let's ask the advertiser guy.
No, so for us it's we have multiple options. Options. One of them being there's pre-rolls. That's just at the beginning of the show. There's mid-rolls, and then there's post-rolls. Post-rolls is usually towards the end of the show, but for us, what we do is for the advertisers, we give them added value. So that's usually at no cost. But there's also like sponsored segments. So therefore, where you get an opportunity where you give the podcaster, where you give the podcaster the talking points of the products, where they can actually create a sponsored segment for, within the show. And also another thing that we like to do is that we like to, versus having multiple advertisers in one show, we'll basically select, let's say, Moet Hennessy, and Moet Hennessy will own the podcast for a total of, let's say, 3 to 6 weeks. And that'll be the only advertiser that you would hear as like from a pre-roll to a mid-roll perspective that the podcaster will talk about. So therefore, what we give our advertisers is an a la carte menu of the different options, because everything everything has its own price tag. Therefore, the pre-roll will be a different price tag, the mid-roll will be a different price tag, post-roll will be a different price tag, or at no cost. And additionally, you have the sponsored segment or the show sponsorship.
Are you guys cha-ching in it? Are y'all cha-chinging it?
As we should.
I just want to know if y'all cha-chinging
as we should. As we should. As we should. 1,000%. 1,000%.
Nah, I'm with you on that.
So that was one of the challenges you said you faced, right? You do your job. Your job is getting the sponsors attached to, because the podcasters in the podcast game, everyone's like, where's the money? How do you make money off of podcasting, right?
Right.
So is being consistent, right? But then it's teaming up with people like you to get those advertisers to put the money inside the show. But now we need the podcasters to be consistent to have the show every week. So have you ever had advertisers pull out because a show hasn't been consistent?
Oh, 100%. And that's the most frustrating part. It's
and
like
what can you do about it? You can't.
It's what we do is we have eggs in our face. That does happen. It's really one of the most frustrating part of the job, simply because we are not in the studios with those podcasters on a weekly basis to tell them, hey, you need to create content, you need to release a podcast. So therefore, for us, it's really trying to plan, get in front of it as much as possible, so that way we get an opportunity to alert our clients that, hey, this podcast will not be launching this week or for the next 2 weeks. And most of the times we don't catch it because the producer will tell us one thing and the podcaster will tell us another thing. The producer doesn't show up to work, so the podcaster doesn't record, or the producer shows up and the podcaster doesn't show up.
Especially Tim and Jamie, man.
And Bree.
And Bree, our producers, man.
Especially during the summer months when everyone is taking vacation and going different places. So there's really no way for us to know but over communicate to our partners. And the fact that we do have a great track record of delivering, of being consistent and making sure ads are being released. Therefore, when that does happen, as long as we get in front of it, we usually get okay. But sometimes it's not okay, because now those are the dollars that we're losing out on, that the podcast is losing out on, because most of these advertisers, some of them have quarterly budgets, some of them have annual budgets, and some of them have monthly budgets. So therefore, if the ad doesn't launch within the 1st and the 31st, my friend, that money's gone. So therefore, and we're not in the business of losing money. We're in the business of making sure that not only we're providing value for our advertisers, but at the same time that we're paying our podcasters and us also that we're getting paid. So when that happens, man, it's really frustrating. But you can't sit and dwell on it. You can only come up with a solution that's going to work for the advertiser.
Yeah.
Being that this is a business orientated type of a podcast, the goal when we think of the goal of doing business is what? For ourselves or for the advertiser? The goal of doing business. If we say we're in business, what is our goal?
Oh, no, it's to make money.
Yeah.
Oh, without question.
Yeah.
No, without question.
You build lasting connections.
It comes back down to value. I've known Gene for 15 years, but it boils down to, Gary, I have a show. 2 things, right? Hey, Gary, I have a show. 1, can you come on my show to add value based on what you have going on? Where can you come? Can you come on my show to tell your story? Because I feel like your story is important to tell. Haitian immigrants, so on and so forth, et cetera, et cetera. Come on my show. Second is, Gene's like, hey, Gary, I would like to know whom within your network you think would be a good fit to bring onto my show. So that says, and Gene liked me as a person. I know he does. Yep. But at the end of the day, what is a subset of that? After I like you as a person, what can you do to bring value to what I have going on? So therefore, I think one of the main things that people keep forgetting is that it's not always a kumbaya moment. We don't always need kumbaya moments, but we need to have real moments and be honest with ourselves. What value are you bringing to me as my friend? What can I do? What can you do for me to help me grow? And how can I return that favor to help you grow? So
we talked about this on last week's episode.
So therefore, for me, it's not. I'm not looking at everything as a transaction. Unfortunately, I'm not. I'm not looking at it. It's not unfortunately, but I'm not looking at it as a transaction. If I meet you today, that I need to be able to immediately see what I can do, what you can do for me in order to remain a friendship. No, but over time, for us to grow, for that friendship to grow, is can I come to you if I need financial advice? Can I come to you if I need access to go to a Knicks game? Can I come to you if I need to connect with the next person? I need to be able to understand. That helps you grow the network, and then that helps you build bigger and better bonds simply because you're adding value to someone else's life. And I can add value to you day in and day out, and that could just be, I could be completely happy with it. But at the same time, sooner or later, after too many deposits, I need to be able to withdraw from the relationship. So what can I withdraw if I'm always making deposits, and what can I withdraw from you as a person that's within part of my network? So I think that's what truly helps build lasting relationships, when you do have people within your circle that are reliable, at the same time can add value to what you have going on or other people that's around you.
It's true.
See, like I I appreciate the relationship I have with Gene because I know I could call him at 2 a.m.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Facts.
You know what I'm saying?
And I'm up, man.
Yeah, you know, I can call him, and he's and not only that, he has comprehension.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Sure.
He's wise beyond his age.
Right.
You feel me? And he takes care of what he needs to take care of, and I think one of the reasons why he's, you know, well, I'll leave it to him to talk about that because. Right. Why he's friends with me?
Oh, yo, man!
This guy's
You've been adding value.
This guy's looking for a pat. This guy's over here looking for a pat in the back. Hey, Gene, tell me why I'm great.
Nah.
Gene, tell me why I'm great.
I was gonna.
No, I'm kidding, man.
No. I was gonna go in and say. I was gonna go in and say why. I was gonna go and say why he's friends with me, but I'm like, why should I say that when right there he can say himself?
I mean, you led you through the water, Gene. Go ahead.
Yeah, I know, right? Now, the pressure, right?
Right.
No, man, no. Me and Pat, man, Jeff, we've been friends. First of all, his son is my godson.
Okay.
Right? We met at an attorney's office, you know?
Right.
18 years ago.
Right.
But I learn every time I get on the phone with this guy.
Right. That's amazing.
And when you talk
value,
about
right?
Yes, that's value. But that's the value. That's value.
You don't necessarily need to be giving you Knicks tickets or money. But you're learning. Even if you're learning
every single day. And I started ACA because of this guy.
That's amazing.
Right?
You see, that's amazing.
He put me on to the football. You know how I got into football?
Right.
Because we met through
Jeff,
Pope
right,
and
right.
when I was working with Pope, right?
Mm-hmm.
This guy is the reason why I, number one, started ACA. He's the one I got into football. Right. I was not even looking at football.
Right.
Right?
You see?
And his brother played for the CFL.
Got it.
One of the star players, right? And I was managing him, and the value was, he was like, look, if you want to get into this business, I'm going to give you a client. Right. So, because I had no clients.
Right.
So he's like, I'm going to give you a client.
That's amazing.
So when you talk about value and you talk about relationships,
right?
And that relationship it's always been, Jeff will call me and say, hey, Gene, I have a question in regards to real estate. I have a question in regards to this.
Right.
Answer it. Help him.
That's great.
And then you know, it's, guys, sometimes it has nothing to do.
There's an exchange that's happening.
Yeah, there's always an exchange.
And that's phenomenal. And I want to talk about one thing that I think people usually get misconstrued is that it sounds phenomenal. Like it does sound, I'm not going to lie, in an era where everyone, people overnight friends, and before you know it, they're no longer friends or business partners. Exactly. I think it matters. It makes a lot of, it's always great hearing that I've been friends with X, Y, and Z for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. That sounds great, right? You have to applaud that. However, you can have a friend for 15 years, but have people that you've known only for 2 years, and that still bring more value than the people that you've known for 15 years. So therefore, what I want to say is that sometimes people are stuck in the loyalty of people that they've known for a while, and they're afraid they're afraid to pivot to a different network to get to know other people, to sort of really interact with other people, and that can leave you stuck. So therefore, I mean, I still have my childhood friends that I grew up with in Rockland County. Those guys are still my guys. For a fact, they know at any given time if they call me, I call them. I know they're there for me. But at the same time, I've also pivoted to also meeting other people that are from California, that are from Ohio, that are from Philadelphia. That helps me even that network grow even bigger, because now when this friend that I've known for 15, 20 years gives me a call and says, hey, I need such and such. Do you know a real estate lawyer? Do you know financial planning? I say, okay, cool. Absolutely, I do. I can call a friend of mine that's at Goldman Sachs or someone that I know at JP Morgan or Credit Suisse. Still just simply because I've been able to pivot and elevate and navigate towards a different circle. So I think it's important to say that it's absolutely phenomenal when you can always look back, because it's good when I speak to my childhood friends. They're telling me about times when we were in high school. That's phenomenal. But at the same time, I also have my guys that really some of my top 5 guys that I've known within the last 2 or 3 years that I've added so much value, and vice versa, that I will also I'll put on the same pedestal.
The 5 guys.
Exactly.
Yeah, we were just talking about
that. Last episode we were talking about
the circle.
The circle,
relationship.
for sure. Relationship.
For sure.
And if somebody's not adding value to you, now I want to talk about something else, right?
For sure.
Networking, right? Mm-hmm. I think What do you think your superpower is?
It's without a doubt networking. It's without a doubt networking.
I think that's what.
It's without a doubt networking, and it's networking, and me, and I'm going to sound. Thank you, sir. It's really me. It's really me understanding like the power of adding value to other people. So therefore, if I know for a fact I am currently working on this on the right hand over here, and I know you're over there, you're working on this, and there's an opportunity for me to bridge the gap between what you're doing and what I'm doing. So therefore, the first thing I'm going to do is not telling you what can you do for me. It's me asking you, what can I do for you? Because by me doing this for you, I feel like there's an opportunity for us to do X, Y, and Z together. So therefore, I've always believed in that. And for me is when I meet new friends, I'm still meeting new people, not meeting way more people than I used to be in the past. And when I'm meeting people now, and when you get to the, hey, what exactly do you do and how you do it, understanding the nuts and bolts of their business, I'm saying, I think I could do X, Y, and Z for you. You know what? I know a guy that knows a guy that can do X, Y, and Z for you. What is your business lacking? Where are you missing? By me asking that question, it immediately switches the temperature in the room, because you're saying, wait, this guy doesn't want anything from me. This guy wants to add value to what I'm currently doing. Gary, let's have a drink next week. Let's have a coffee, or come by the office next week. Let's have a conversation. This happens on a daily basis. And I also meet a lot of people. It's like, Gary, what can you do for me? What can you do for me? And I entertain those conversations, but that conversation being extended outside of that moment is the chances of it happening is slim to none. Simply because clearly now all I'm seeing, you're just ready to make deposits, and you're about to put us in overdraft because there's nothing in the bank between the banking relationship between us. There's nothing that currently exists. So for me, I think it's networking. My ability. I mean, when I'm telling you.
What's your superpower, Gene? I'm sorry.
That's a good question. Yeah, Gene, what's yours?
Mine is the gift of gab and seeing great potential in people. And the same thing, adding value. To piggyback off of what you said, and then I want to know your superpower. Give me 1 second before you get to that. I don't want to lose this thought. What gets me mad, my pet peeve, fired up, is when someone comes to me. Right? Mm-hmm. And because they think I could add deposits on them, they assume that I'm going to add deposits on them. So they first come to me and just say, what can you do for me? Handout. You mentioned that just a little, and I don't want to skim over it.
Right.
That annoys me, man. Like, you just come in to me and say, hey, what can you do for me? I know you could do something for me. What can you do? Like, yo, let me ask.
Right.
Let me tell you.
Handout.
Let me hear. And then let me say, oh, you know what? I got to connect. I got this. I can help you.
Right. No,
right?
for sure.
But don't force that on me, because I feel like I'm in a wall, or I'm back against the wall now. Now I'm defensive.
Right.
Before I would have helped you if you just.
And then, then another concept that I want to talk about, which is another one of my superpowers. I am not afraid to walk to anyone or have a conversation with anyone.
Yeah, me either.
And I think a lot of people are usually afraid. What if you're scared of rejection?
Regret is worse than fear.
There you go. You can't be afraid. It's as if you're a gentleman and you walk into a bar and you see a pretty girl that you want to have a conversation with, and she's sitting there by herself. She's inviting. It's not like she's closed off.
When I was younger, that would never happen. When I was younger.
And you're afraid to go up to her and have a conversation, and then another guy comes in and talk to her, and you realize, I'm cooler than this guy, I'm dressed better than this guy. Guess what? His ability to not be afraid to talk to her is what got him a conversation. You were scared and you were taking your time.
That's true.
That's where you messed up at. So then now the entire night, now you're in a bad, you have a bad energy because you felt like you already lost out on a good one that could have been your girl for the night. So I certainly want to. So my ability to not be afraid.
That happened to him.
Oh, he did. You see? Hey, you see?
He's like, oh man.
So that ability for me, my ability to not be afraid to strike a conversation and have real, and understand where someone's coming from, what they have going on, etc., has allowed me to meet new people and allow me to network.
Oh, no.
Pat, what is your superpower, man?
I'm lovingly genuine. That's my superpower.
That's important.
I'm a lovingly genuine person.
That's important.
People love me.
Strong energy, though.
Yeah, I'm saying lovingly genuine. That not everybody's gonna love you, of course, but for me, it has always gotten me through the door. Just being a lovingly genuine person. That is my superpower.
All right.
That provokes my energy.
Talking about superpower, we have to say congratulations to this man, Gary, 40 under 40.
At age.
Let's clap it up, everybody.
Appreciate that, man.
40 under 40, man.
Much appreciated.
That's
much
what's
appreciated.
up, man.
Oh, no, much appreciated. No, I'm excited. I'm very excited. And it means so much more. It means so much to me, given the fact that I've worked in corporate for over 15 years. I've worked at some cool brands, the Lacoste, the Verizons of the world.
BMW.
That was a client. Yeah, that was a client. Yeah, that was a client of ours at Laundry Service. And I've also worked for some of the coolest and biggest agencies, both media and creative agencies. And then not to say anything from those companies because I've learned so much, but for me to have gotten that opportunity within one of those companies would have been extremely hard. Simply because there's my counterparts that maybe would have had the same roles, and then also you have your CEO, you have your CMO, you have your CFO, and everyone will be, everyone would want to have the opportunity to be named at age 40 under 40. So for me, to leave corporate, to go ahead and launch a company, to start my own media agency, and now to get that opportunity to be at age 40 under 40 because I created my own table. I walked away from the table that I feel where I wasn't getting enough, and I created a new table where now I'm allowing other people to come and eat with me, and now to be recognized for creating
digital media,
to create such great work.
Paper
and now,
dollars money.
And now to the point where the accolades are matching the efforts. So it means a great deal to me. And Ad Age is reputable. They're well known. They're the number one advertising publication in the nation. So it means a lot to me. I'm very appreciative. I'm honored. I'm humbled. And this only fuels the fire that's within me to keep going and keep growing the company to take it to new heights.
Well, we're proud of you, man.
I appreciate that, sir. Thank you. Much appreciated. Much appreciated.
Good looking, man.
Much
I love
appreciated.
to see our people on these advertising lists because for years it's true. Haitians.
Right.
No, but I'm all jokes aside, man. I just love to see us win, man. And being on these lists mean that because there was a time where the ad space. This is not who you would see, man.
For sure. No. I think
you watch Mad Men. I used to watch that was one of my favorite shows.
Right.
And so
that's back in the day.
Yeah, but that was the world.
To its credit, I think diversity and inclusion is a hot topic, and it's continuing to grow.
I'm actually the assistant director at the New York Medical College for a class that's focusing on diversity and inclusion.
Right.
Multiculturalism in medicine.
For sure.
I am particularly keen to that topic. And
for sure.
Something that's one of the things, I don't mean to cut you, Gary, but one of the things when you say multiculturalism and diversity and inclusion, it does not mean exclusion to anyone.
Right.
It's inclusive to everyone.
For sure. No, 100%. 100%. And I think that, it's that segment is continuing to grow, and it's such a hot topic right now. And I think brands and companies are realizing the value of the multicultural segment, and they're really investing in it. Hence why my company exists. Hence why we're able to get clients. So I mean, to its credit, I do have to admit that the companies are doing a much better job now at understanding that in order for us to speak to that segment, we need to have some people from that segment to be part of the table.
Amen.
So then now more people are being promoted. You're seeing more black directors, more black VPs. I mean, we still have a long way to go, but I still have to give it its credit for them realizing it and understanding that changes need to be made. Knowing is half the battle.
Let me tell you something. There is something that is ingrained in our society that is a nuisance to the slave descent of the African race.
Right.
Okay? There's something that is ingrained in there. And yesterday I did something. And I did it. Okay, all right. So I went to this place to get something to eat, right? Mm-hmm. Now, it'll remain nameless, as Gary would say, because we don't want to get sued. Anyway, I went into this place. There was an older white lady in front of me, and she ordered this meal, right? and the guy behind the counter, he made her meal and he stacked it up. You know what I'm saying? I was like, I wonder if I ordered the same thing, would mine be as stacked up as Disney? So I was like, you know what? I want the same thing she's having. Man, my plate was so light, man.
Really?
Yeah, man. He like I was like, yo, that's so crazy, man. Right. You see what I'm saying?
I want the same.
Yeah.
I want it like Gary.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? I just did that to see exactly, and the guy did exactly what
you anticipated.
Yeah.
Right.
He put a little of this, a little of that, and he was just, and I got my plate. I was like, look how he filled this lady's plate up. And I wasn't gonna say nothing so they could be like, look at this greedy.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But I was just like, yo, you see this? You see that? But there's something that's so ingrained in our society that sees the worst in us and thinks that we deserve the least. And it's just, I was watching D.L. Hughley the other night, and he was talking about the Central Park 5.
Yeah.
And how, you know, yo, man, it's like, they see the worst.
Yeah, I mean, we just have to change that, and it starts with us not only sort of setting the tonality based on our behavior and actions, but additionally, of course, teaching others how to treat us properly. I think for me in this instance, I would have genuinely asked him a question. I'm a big guy. I would actually even make a joke about it. Hey, I'm a big guy. I would have loved to have a plate as stacked as hers. What happened, man? And that right there, and the tonality in which the tonality in which you say
so
it,
cool.
the tonality in which you say it and how you approach it, you know, it's completely different. And by the way, you might have thought she was very attractive and was trying to flirt with her, and he's not trying to flirt with you. Doesn't matter. You might like some hoe. You don't know. So therefore, versus by you bringing that up to his attention in a joking manner in which now that opens the conversation for him to be less defensive. Now you're going to enlighten him by saying, hey, I noticed what you did for her. I would have appreciated if you did it for me. Next time I come around, look out for a brother. And that changes the game.
Yeah,
guess what? That happens now.
True.
Not only now you're going to get a much better treatment moving forward. Now he's also going to be conscious of it next time he does it, whether it's a black person to a Hispanic person, Indian person, because now you brought it to his attention. You've educated him and taught him something that he may not have realized that he was doing.
You're right.
So
but I didn't do that. I didn't do that.
That's fine.
I just said, you know.
So now we have a
go about my business.
So now we currently have a tactic for you as to best tackle it moving forward.
All right.
You hear that, people?
Now, yo, tackling it with
Gary.
Right.
I'm gonna ask you a question.
Sure.
Out of Faith, Grind, Inspire, which one resonates with you and why?
All three, man. My answer will not change from the last time I was here.
I tried to trick you.
All three remains the same. Faith is my ability to see things before they occur. Mm-hmm. So I need to have that in order to remain optimistic and positive. Grind is my ability to say, based on what I've envisioned, based on the vision of where I see myself and the trajectory and the path that I'm placing myself, I need to go out and execute it in order to get there. Inspiring is making sure that I'm passing the baton back down to the younger generation or another entrepreneur, so they can in fact attain or reach the same level of success. So all three matters. So therefore, you can't have one without another.
Nah, you good.
Faith, God, Inspire. You good.
Man.
So
appreciate
Gary,
that. Appreciate
congratulations,
that, guys. Thank you, man.
Again,
absolutely.
Anything else you want to add before?
Oh, no, man. I just want to let everyone know, listen, man, if you're currently unemployed, if you're currently going through it, it's a seasonal thing. While you're going through a season where you don't feel you're at your best, that's when you should dig deep to really find yourself and really lay out the game plan for the business or to see yourself where you need to be. That way, by the time the season is over, you can immediately hit the ground running so you can start executing on your goals. So that's exactly.
I swear, this guy's the coolest guy in the world. He just made unemployment sound so good.
But seriously, so I really want seriously, because when bad things happen to you, people usually try to bask into the sadness, but letting them know that there is light at the end of the tunnel. But while you're in the dark, if you can start really manifesting your dreams, manifesting your future, once you see the light, you'll immediately be in a much better place.
Faith,
so,
Grind, Inspire.
Guys, thanks for having me. Faith, Grind, Inspire. Thank you for having me, guys.
Where can people find you?
Pod Digital Media. It's at Pod Media on Instagram. www.poddigitalmedia.com. We are also on Twitter, Pod Media too. Find us come on our website, see the list of advertisers that we have. That list is always changing, the list of podcasters that we work with.
We have to get Faith Grind Inspire on that list.
Absolutely.
Now. So we put in the work, we're consistent. We got our numbers.
Tell your team. We have a great team. Our operations team is always ready ready and willing to take on new podcasters. Just give us what we need and we'll make it happen.
Let's go.
All right, gents.
All right.
Be well.
So take care, man.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Everybody, thank you guys for tuning in to another great episode of Faith Grind Inspire Podcast.
Yeah.
And thank you, Gary, for coming on. And tune in every Wednesday, consistent, on the OG Podcast Network. You can find us on YouTube. You can watch this video and interview and conversation, and follow us. And you could send Patrick an email.
Jeffrey at faithgrindinspire.com.
Boom.
Yeah. What up to Tim?
Peace out to Tim, Jamie, Brianna,
Yeah.
Ra.
Yeah.
All right. Peace.